Nice.
Who's
not with us?
John's family?
God.
Oh, he's actually streaming. I thought you were doing it this whole time.
Did you just say that God is not with us this stream?
He's not.
Confirmed. God does not watch Twitch.
He's forsaken us. He hates John's. Hates
He
John's
hates-
name.
I
He
think if
hates
God
Minecraft.
watched Twitch, the rapture would have already happened.
Yeah, that's a fair statement.
Minecraft YouTubers are God.
I also agree.
Thanks, Scott.
Oh, Day, thanks for volunteering. Yeah.
Yep, man. You're so nice.
You're a lifesaver.
Especially because it seems like she's just not here.
I don't think she is. Didn't we do that to her last time? Just made her do the recap. She's like, what?
They do that every time. What are you talking about?
Oh, well.
It's not unique to this day.
Look. Wait,
Yeah,
this
Scott's
day,
getting Scott's getting defensive about his campaign. Yeah, we do that too.
Scott, you have some splaining.
What does Brian's campaign have that I don't have?
Yeah.
We
What?
make fun of him.
I did it first.
Okay, this is the only day that he plays, so he doesn't get to see all of the abuse that poor Day has to take.
I mean, I just watch the streams.
Uh,
God.
Thank Christ.
Yeah, thank all that's good.
I have to hear enough about it.
Mike has got the most time logged in day. Like what? What are your day hours?
Phrasing.
no, that was. I'm pretty sure he phrased that exactly how he meant it to.
That's just unfortunate.
Yeah,
I mean, I can change it.
I mean, you
Something
can't really
worse.
take back. I guess you could make it. I'll just look at poor Gidget.
Yeah.
Real life case test study. So I guess we'll start when Day gets back.
of Jeremy killing himself. Just kidding.
It's not really. It's not really.
I
really
mean, bring someone in.
I'm just gonna continue drawing.
You do that, man.
Go ahead.
Thank
Oh
you.
my. What's going on here?
It's a butthole.
Oh, sick.
What? Wait, that's what you're drawing?
Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry, I'm back.
Welcome back.
Oh, you didn't miss
And
much.
this in the center is a gigantic pierced nipple.
Okay.
Oh,
Never mind, I guess you did miss him a lot.
Missed a lot of story building.
Character build.
Yeah.
lots of envelopes.
A whole bunch of pierced nipples.
Just terrible jokes all around.
You're volunteered.
Yeah, they already volunteered you.
Sorry.
Of course. No one else take notes? Jeez.
No.
I have to as the DM, but at the same time, the
I don't
recap's
think
not
you
for
do
me.
either.
Well, I remember Scott's note-taking thought process.
What?
Yeah.
Someone else will probably do it. So
I
Yeah.
would give Scott a pass anyway, because he's like in a car. No.
It's true. It'd be hard to like write, play, and type on my keyboards.
You gotta. But she didn't.
Did ya?
Okay. Are we like streaming and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
unfortunately.
I don't know if Mike can put us on pause or anything, but
Nah, he's got us on blast.
why didn't you?
Okay. So I can go back and see what I.
Yeah. You can
Oh.
see what awful things you missed.
Nice.
I committed all of them, all the atrocities.
The creepy mumbling is just killing me.
That's just his normal voice. I'm used to it.
Oh yeah, look at that. Oh, that's some good art right there.
Oh, that's good. That's
Yeah.
real good.
Yeah, that's
Alright.
nice.
I am Randy.
Yeah,
That's how he delivers all his art critiques.
yeah. I like
Oh,
those ears.
yeah.
Yeah, pointy.
Oh,
Sorry, go ahead.
pointy.
Well, I gotta go.
We waited for you.
Yeah, we waited for you guys. You better not go anywhere, you son
waited,
of a bitch.
You waited all of 3 fucking minutes. So sorry.
I waited an hour in my car. Thank you very much.
This is so
He
sad.
waited an hour in his car.
In his
Yeah.
car.
In my car.
He-
In
a
the
pit.
gravel pit.
It was
Fighting
already
off
established
mutant deers.
that it was
3 miles away from my house.
There,
already
there's
established that
Ito's.
we were
Garage.
starting later. Why did you go all the way out there?
I could have asphyxiated.
He could have.
Could you?
Well, I'm sorry.
Well, it does have an exhaust leak, so potentially. But the engine's only on for like a couple minutes every now and then, so I don't know.
I don't want you to asphyxiate.
The hose. leading
How
from
kind
the
of you,
dog.
Fishy,
Oh,
Thank you.
anyway,
to not wish that someone asphyxiates. Wow,
Yeah.
really
While
generous.
waiting for
I'm just
you.
that kind of friend. You know? I'm really nice like that.
I'm a giver. What can I say?
Gig.
you want that recap?
Yes, please.
Last time we had like a ceremony for the goblins that were being buried, you know, the dead ones. We come across a Tabaxi woman that was like adopted by all the goblins. She's like fresh from college, and it's very sad and tragic. We convince her to come back with us to the city. There's some, to like kind of convince, I think, officials or something to let the goblins go. Because we did still take the goblins that are alive with us. So
Yeah.
Under
They-
the guise that they were evil.
Yeah.
As far as you know, they are currently in a holding cell somewhere.
Well,
Yes.
what's this? Michael gave someone a note saying where they were.
Right. So you do know which holding cell they're supposedly in.
Yes. We did get paid for that job still. Some role play stuff. Me and Bernard and Soren have ties with officials that may be able to help. We end up going to an inn. Let's see.
That's not good.
Soren totally doesn't take shoulder, or anything like that. Shoulder
Sorry, what?
ends up drinking until he passes out.
And we shared a. Oh, I'll leave that part out.
Nothing happened
Yeah, nothing.
because Shoulder was passed out.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right.
Yeah, Soren and Despa do play chess. Despa is the name of the Tabaxi.
Yeah, she waxed me. I was also drunk.
Yeah. Let's see. I think that's about it, and then we end up going to sleep, and all that.
Oh, I have the
I
name
do
of the
have-
noble.
Yeah, I got I know someone named Panzan that may be able to help if Soren doesn't know anyone. Looks like that's about it.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So I think we were staying at the inn for the night because we came in really late, so then the next day we would try to get a hold of Panzan or someone else to see if we can help Despa and the goblins.
Right. That sounds about right. So yeah, here, actually, there are a few people... Actually, I can just turn the volume up. So you all wake up in the morning. Some of you better rested than others because a few spent their night drinking, getting a little sloshed beyond...
And other things?
No, just getting sloshed. So some of you may not be feeling, 100%, but no matter what, well, I guess everyone wakes up. I assume at some point everyone goes down to the front where they do serve breakfast, complimentary. That's part of the room and board that you paid for. And so it's continental. It's sort of a buffet style thing. So you go and you just get what you want. Although they have someone at the buffet who's kind of eyeing people down who are taking too much. Although they don't seem to say anything, they just really look stern and upset when you take a little bit more than maybe you should.
Silently judging.
Pretty much. Is there anything that people want to do in the morning, say to each other before you decide to form your plans, or is that what you kind of want to do right now?
Well, we didn't really talk about in the last session what Ayla and Oswaldo were going to be doing.
Right.
If they're on board with us or not.
Yeah, so y'all can talk about that now.
Alright.
I mean,
Oh.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Maybe.
He's just fighting a deer. Just chill.
Yeah, like China.
I mean, if there was, it'd be fine, right?
I would assume squishing mosquitoes.
I'd rather not talk about it.
Oh,
It's the owner of the gravel pit pounding on his door.
Leave.
He's just
With
like,
a
oh,
baseball bat.
what's that noise? What's
Come
that
here
noise?
every week. Get
I have
out.
headphones on. I can't hear you.
Yeah. Sorry, you have to speak up.
Anyway.
Yeah. So I think as far as I know, no plans have really been formulated other than the general vague idea that various people in the party may be able to talk to officials and get some sort of plea deal going.
yes.
I don't think a specific official has been decided on, nor how.
We have a
people
name.
Yeah, it's all
Right.
out as a name.
So currently there is the one person that Bernard knows of, and I believe that Soren thought that she could get context to. So I don't think there's been someone specifically that you have agreed on going to yet.
I think we both agreed on Panzam, if I remember.
Oh, really?
Maybe
Unless,
not. I thought, well, maybe not. That's exactly. I didn't verbally say it, but I feel like that was the conclusion that we both came to.
Okay.
Am I wrong, Day?
That's all we got that I remember.
Okay. Oh.
Uh-oh.
This is not looking good.
Uh-oh.
Well, join back in when you can.
Well, at least he's still on the call.
But yeah, so if you, I mean, there's no reason that you couldn't
That's fair.
Well,
What
Can't
just
get
happened?
money.
as long as we talk to the politicians and don't shoot them, because that would be very bad.
Promises have not been made.
Oh boy.
That's fucking true.
Panzan is a good man.
Oh, huh?
I'm
That's
a bad
debatable.
bitch.
I painted his family portrait. It was very pleasant.
I don't like having to use nobles if we don't have to, but I can't think of anything else besides going directly to where those goblins are and breaking them out. And I don't think that would work out very well.
You don't know that it wouldn't, though.
Well,
Well, we'll try diplomacy first. And if
I
it
try.
doesn't work,
Try not to break the law.
You know what?
As much
I
as
like
I
That was
can.
your first mistake.
Yeah, it really is.
I pull my character.
I'll call him a Liam. Just make sure you get the right character sheet.
Is this Oswaldo's game?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
And I got the
Just
right
told
one.
that.
The other
There's
Archie.
Waldo, the wizard.
Can we not? Thanks.
Oh,
You're not what?
You know
I'm
what?
sorry.
I,
Yeah.
what?
Jen knows what.
What?
Okay.
Not-
just never mind.
Okay.
Now I'm
Sorry.
really curious.
I'm sorry, I guess.
No, not you. It's Jen. It's all
Oh.
Jen.
Yeah, Jen, come
Wow.
on.
I'll stop. I'm done. Okay. I love
Good.
you, Liam.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. What did I miss?
I don't know.
Uh,
Someone just poured some salt up in here. I don't know why.
Someone better spill that tea.
I wasn't part of Team Solve for no reason.
Sips tea.
Oh shit. Not it. No, stop. Ah.
I like to imagine that Scott is just driving.
It's
Just like
stressful.
on a freeway while he's doing this.
Yeah, I'm with whatever plan. Oh, hold on.
I'm getting pulled over right now. Just everybody calm down.
You just hear like a blinker.
Guys, act natural.
Be cool.
act
Be
natural.
cool. Be cool.
You
Be
just
cool,
shut
man.
up.
License
I wasn't
registration.
sure
Yo, we got
whether or
weed in the
not you
car.
were telling the truth. I was like, holy shit, this is gonna be great because DB's stream is gonna get subpoenaed for evidence, and they're gonna have to play a Twitch D&D clip.
Let's edit
And
the,
hear everything we said up to that point.
Let's edit
Right?
the big blurb into where Scott said something incriminating.
Be every D&D stream.
I think we
What?
should go visit my, I wouldn't say friend,
Acquaintance?
I painted a portrait of his family once, and he
Business
seemed more fond of. He's more fond of my mother than my father, which is promising because
Should well, I mean, I'd imagine and since me and you are nobles, should I like not be wearing armor to this dude's house?
Nobles.
I think you'd be fine with your armor. Just keep your weapons stowed.
All right,
They might want you to keep them at the door.
all right.
Pound on
Break
the
the door
Hold
down.
on. Hey. Release the goblins.
Yeah.
He's
He's trying to help us. He doesn't have the goblin.
fond of art, so your nipple is fine.
Oh.
What?
Yep. Nope. Just go with it. Nipples are art. Day 2018.
Hey,
They absolutely are art.
I can tell you,
gonna have to agree with her.
I mean, technically, his nipple is art because it's a drawing.
It is literal art. Yeah.
But all right, go with it.
so for anyone who is more, I guess, well tuned to kind of culture in
Practicing.
these larger urban cities or centers, it's very common for working class men to, on specifically hot days, to just take off their shirts and wander the
really?
streets completely like shirtless. Oftentimes they will have large beer bellies. So you'll just see like half naked
men.
What about
naked
what
men
about
just with their bellies hanging out.
Do they like squat
I
and
mean-
slap their bellies in public?
They don't. It's more of a, to beat the heat sort of thing, and they're incredibly tired, so they're trying to, cool down, as opposed to like a performance sort of
What
thing.
is the social standing on picking lint out of your belly button?
I guess that could be included. It's not like they're taking off their shirts and then acting like really dignified about being shirtless. They're kind of slouching or.
So you said working class men. What about like paladin class women? Is that
Do they lick ketchup off their chest if they're eating a hot dog and it falls on there?
this is important?
Well, if they were eating hot dogs and they had ketchup for some reason, then yes, they would probably kind of just, if they could, reach down, lick it off. If not, they just wipe it off and then lick it off their hand.
There's just men around.
This is the kind of world building I need to know.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm
No,
I'm
please.
actually taking notes now.
You're fleshing out my world.
Yeah,
You will be seen as a creep.
What if you're
fair.
good friends?
I picked the
Nobody-
button out of Hilder.
Nobody knows if you're good friends or not. They'll just assume you're a creep.
What if they're
I
enjoying it,
see
though?
somebody
Yeah, what if the
picking
other
out of
person
somebody
seems
else's
pretty okay
belly
with it?
Right, then I'm pretty sure it becomes more creepy if they're enjoying it.
Lift up my armor and
weird
expose my bare
Public
belly
act
button.
of whatever.
metal lint.
It's not
Um,
actual steel.
but the people who are perceiving it as weird, if you're doing it to a stranger, they will definitely perceive it as weird if you try and go for their lint. But the people who are mainly going to be seeing it as weird are the bystanders.
Thinking about that lint.
Go for the lint.
Going for that lit.
The,
Let's get going for
metal-
lint trending.
the metal filing lint, that's why Oswaldo doesn't wear metal armor. His nipples are so hard, it'd just be full of lint all the time.
I see.
Wow,
Yeah.
that'd be sad. I
Yeah.
guess. I don't know.
That
Would
lint.
that mean you would just like grate through your armor until your bare nipples were exposed?
Right.
He saws through them with his nipples.
Yeah.
I
His
should
diamond hard
mention-
nipples.
Since this is
Yeah, does that add AC?
Unfortunately, no.
Damn.
Only if you hit the nipple.
Yeah. If you hit the nipple with a bladed weapon, that's definitely gonna leave a nick.
Is it like a crit saving throw you have to make or something? Like,
Sounds like bikini chainmail logic.
That's what happens anytime he rolls a 20 on defense.
I see.
Yeah.
don't
I'd
know
just
how
like
to-
to say one thing before we move forward. There was in recent pop culture a painting. There's a huge project going on with sort of working class people trying to make art, I guess, less high, right, to make it more tangible to the working class. And to also say that, working class people should be in art as opposed to, just nobles and all that, so that, you have more subjects that are common people. And there was one kind of more controversial piece of art, which was two of, these shirtless men, and one was picking out the belly lint.
Okay, I see.
And that was seen as going a bit too far at the time. And while that artist did sell a ton of prints of that specific piece of art, that was more for like controversy and like
It's a political statement.
right political statement as opposed to people actually enjoyed it, because most people were kind of shocked and disgusted, no matter what class they were from.
Right.
Probably have a print of this, but that's besides. Anywho.
Let's
Yes.
go to this man's house, please.
He just has the painting on his wall.
That's his
He
door,
was the
actually.
Yeah,
It's
I
on the door.
painted it.
He was the artist.
So yeah, it probably takes you a good 45 minutes. I assume you're going to be like renting a cart or something.
Those dudes far?
What?
Those dudes far from where we're at?
Not necessarily far, but there is a lot more sort of congested traffic as you get to the more, I guess, high-class areas of the city you're in. And so imagine that like there are no stoplights or anything like that. It's all stop signs pretty much directed by individuals who say, you go, then you go, then you go. So it takes quite a while to get that far in the more nice parts of urban cities. So after a 45-minute trip, you pull into the driveway of a mansion. You pay the driver. I believe that's going to be 2 silver for the ride.
Want to do not it?
I can pay it since I'm the one that suggested we go see him.
Yes. Good.
And so, you pay the 2 silver. The man who's driving the wagon kind of nods at you, thanks you, and then proceeds to try and back the wagon out of the driveway.
Sounds terrible.
Yeah.
It's like a semi and he's just not having a good time.
It's close to that. And you start walking into the basically little courtyard in front of the mansion. And in front you see 2 guards, not official like state guards, but they seem to be privately contracted. And they kind of just stand there looking at you, looking at your weapons, and one of them says, "Halt! Who goes there and what business do you have?"
I'm Bernard Bauchy. These are my companions. We're here to see Panzan.
Bauchy.
You know
scroll
my father.
I think I'd probably...
Yes, I remember him coming at some point. He was on, I think it was a list for some sort of dinner. Yes, Bauchy. Sorry, repeat again what you wanted. I was trying to think of where I recognize that name.
Oh, we're here to see Panzan about some legal matters.
Very well. I will send a message to him, and if he is currently free, he will have someone down shortly to bring you in. In the meantime, I must ask that you wait outside.
Of course.
And he taps twice on sort of a very large, ornate, like cherry wood door. And the door, remains shut for a few seconds, and it slowly begins to open, creaking just very slightly. And you see a young, maybe 5'2", 5'3" human woman poke her head out. She says, "Yes, what is it?" He says, we have Bernard Bauchy looking to see the master. About a legal issue, you said?
Yes.
Legal issue. And she nods and she says, I think he's free, but let me go double check. And she closes the door again, or closes the door for the first time. And she's gone for about 3 to 4 minutes, and she comes back and she opens the door again and says, he'll be ready in 5 minutes. In the meantime, you can bring them inside. I'll start preparing tea for them. And he nods to her, he looks at you all and says, okay, so here's the drill. No weapons inside. If you could just leave them out here with me, I promise that we'll take good care of them. There's a coat hanger, hat hanger inside. If you need to drop anything off in there, the attendant will be happy to help you. If there's anything else, please ask me. But again, I will have to ask for your weapons.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd hand him my weapons and sadly also my flute.
This is the flute. That's
You didn't have to be so honest.
is the. Oh,
Trust pen.
are you a bard then?
Yes.
Ah, well, thank you. I appreciate it. Although, yes, I appreciate it. And he takes the flute and he sets it down right next to your weapon. There's kind of a crate right next to him, and you can see that there are, a few daggers inside of there as well, more ornamental, which were probably kind of left by a airheaded or absent-minded noble who came through.
Right.
And he looks at the rest of you.
Are the goblins with us? Are there any goblins with us?
No.
No, they're all
No.
in jail.
Yeah, they're all in the holding cells.
I couldn't imagine
Kind of assumes.
following goblins.
We have Despa,
You do have Despa,
who's basically...
and she's... Yeah. Although, thankfully, she is actually a tabaxi, which
Yeah.
gets her a lot more. But she, has been following this whole morning. Hasn't really said much. She's responded to people if they talk to her, but hasn't really engaged in conversation.
Mhm.
No, you shouldn't be nervous. Tenzan is very fair.
I sure hope that's true. Although I don't know if fairness is enough to get them out of this predicament, seeing how fairness in the law is supposedly what got them in it.
Well, it's worth a try.
You're definitely right. And she hands over, she just has a short sword that's very, very rudimentary. Probably didn't cost anything more than a few copper coin. And probably looks like it will break if just used moderately in the next few months, or over the next few months. And she also pulls out a small dagger and hands them to the guard, holding the blade and handing over the hilt. And he kind of nods and gently puts them in the box. He looks at you and he sees that you're just pulling weapons off left and right. And yes, you definitely would not have been able to take those inside. Although, what may I ask, why would you need so many? I guess so. He puts them in the crate as well, although he does have to lean the javelins against the wall.
I hand him one dagger.
He looks at you and says, and that's it? You use a single dagger?
Yes, sir.
Very well.
Gets the job done.
Says, I would rather not test it. And he takes the dagger from you and, again, gently puts it into the crate. And now...
my bow and short sword.
Okay. He takes your bow and short sword and kind of smiles at you as you do so. But he doesn't really seem to engage in any conversation as he puts the short sword down and then also kind of lays the bow across the crate because it doesn't necessarily fit inside of it.
Love to know what's so funny.
I wasn't laughing.
Not you, the other guy.
Oh, I didn't think anything was funny. It's just nice to see more people using a bow. Used to use it all the time when I was a kid, hunting, whatnot. It seems like most people prefer just pure strength. Not a big fan.
I sneeze.
Ah.
Well, I'll put some of I'll lay my fine clothes I have laying or in my pack. I'll put them on the ground and lay my sword across it, and my javelins next to Micah's. Hilder.
You put down your fine clothes?
Yeah, so I don't want my sword getting fucked up.
Okay. You kind of do this while he's handling Oswaldo's gear. And he kind of looks at you saying, I can, and then he sees the fine clothing that you're putting down, and he's like, okay. As you kind of drape your fine clothing over sort of other like dirty or scuffed weapons and put yours down.
Don't touch it.
Sure. I guess I'll let you take it before the rest of the party stuff.
That's why I waited to be last.
Okay. Well, sure. I'll make sure to tell no one to touch it.
See to it, please.
Okay. And as you're talking to him and instructing him how to handle your weaponry or not handle it at all, another head kind of pops out of the door, which opens up. Are they ready? And the man says, yeah, just about. Go ahead and show them in. And a different woman this time opens the door all the way. You can see that she's about 5'7". She's either, high elf or at least some part high elf, as she looks a lot more elf than she could possibly look human. And she kind of curtsies to the party and says, please, right this way. And as you enter, you see a large foyer with, beautiful carpet on the floor, an amazing chandelier with candles that span all sorts of colors, beautiful tapestries, some paintings, and just these very dark wood tables with various gold and silver and copper houseware and dinnerware kind of laden on top of them. And she kind of motions to the left where there's a large entryway into what seems to be a receiving area. She says, please, follow me. And she starts to walk into this room, which looks just as extravagant and decked out as the previous room. beautiful furniture, beautiful art on the walls. The rugs on the floor look amazing. And around the table are enough chairs for you to sit down on, and tea sets for 6 people.
Have we seen the painting I did for them at all?
Yeah. If you'd like to go ahead and describe it, you can.
Uh-oh. I don't know
It's just a
anything about
family painting, right?
Yeah, it's a family portrait, so when I see it, I just like gesture to it. This is what I did for the family a couple years ago when I was still learning. Oh, there's so many mistakes.
Oh, but it's simply gorgeous.
You think so?
It's all right.
I do, darling.
And the attendant kind of chimes in. She says, "Oh, you're Bernard Bauchy then?"
Yes.
Have to say that on occasion I've gone over to that painting and looked to see who did it, just because every single time I see it, I just think it captures their elegance so well. It's truly a marvelous painting.
I'm very flattered.
You should be. There's a reason that they keep it over their fireplace, and it is, framed right above their fireplace. It's supposed to pretty much take the eyes of whoever's in the room to, show off this family's elegance, both in decor, but also in stature and perceived personality. She says, "Well, anyways, the tea is ready for you. There's sugar and milk if you take it. And I will come back for you once the master's ready."
Thank you.
Oh, tea. Who's gonna fill it?
Are you hoping for something stronger? A bit early for that, isn't it?
Well, it's never too early.
Just pull out a flask and pour something into the tea.
Yeah, real
Much
quick.
better.
It's like a tiny vial in her cleavage.
Mm-hmm.
Gin.
That's right. Keep it.
And so probably 10 minutes passes, and the same woman comes down again, and she says, "He's ready for you. Let me take you upstairs." And she leads you back to the foyer and takes you up one of the 2 sort of entry stairways that head up to the 2nd floor. And as you make it up, you see a 5'9" human wearing, beautiful red robes. Has somewhat long flowing black hair, probably down below his shoulders. And he smiles as he sees Bernard and says, "It's good to see you again. Your painting has served us quite well. We've gotten many, many, many compliments on it. I can't thank you enough for what you've done."
I'm just very flattered.
Oh, you deserve the flattery. We've been really happy with it, and I don't think we'll get a new one for another 6 or 7 months.
I'd love to
He's gonna
paint
say
again
years.
for you.
Oh, we'd love to have another one from you. Maybe next time we can do a different theme, different outfits, everything.
Maybe
Really
look
try
a
and...
little
Sorry?
No,
I
Sorry.
must have misheard.
I have Tourette's.
What exactly is... Well,
Nothing, go
anyways. I guess we should get to business then. You said you were in some legal trouble? I would be happy to pay back the favor that I owe you for that wonderful painting.
Well, it concerns goblins.
Oh, well, if it's a more serious matter, then perhaps we should go to my study. And he kind of turns around and throws open two sort of dark, near black wood sliding doors, and they kind of slam open against their stops, basically. And he strolls in, and you just see, bookshelf after bookshelf after bookshelf after bookshelf, just loaded with all sorts of tomes and books. Again, amazing rugs, beautiful furniture, and he motions for you to sit around a rather large reading table and says, "Should I call down for your tea to be brought up?"
Yes, that would be lovely.
And he goes over to the reading table. There are 3 bells of differing sizes and colors, and he picks up the blue, probably, I want to say, 3-inch diameter bell. Picks it up and kind of rings it as hard as he can, and then puts it back down gingerly and sits down. And downstairs you hear movement starting to start up again. So, what was it that you wished to discuss? Goblins. How many did you kill? Was it under the wheel of your wagon? Are you looking to sue? What's the nature?
This fucking guy.
This fucking
Probably making money off the base off shit going on.
Yeah, I was here a few years ago, so you may not be aware that I've since left home, trying to make it on my own, without my father's gold.
Yeah.
So
I too went through that phase.
So he doesn't approve of art. So I took a job. Not
Holy
really.
I'm sorry.
No, you're
I
alright.
just forget it's Ryan.
Yeah.
So we took a job. It ended up being taking out goblins in an abandoned village. We did end up slaying some, but others we arrested, I guess you could say. And the whole thing is very unfair. They were just making a living on their own in an abandoned area that no one else was using. Just trying to live peacefully, it seemed. We only slain the ones we did because they were attacking us, but obviously realized they were defending themselves. This young tabaxi woman here, that was her family, and we'd like to make things right.
His brow kind of furrows, and he strokes his chin, and yes, this is more complicated than I thought. Usually these matters go more simply. It's just an issue of coin. Oh.
Yes, well, I can't ask my father for help. There's no way.
I understand wanting to live on your own merit. I, too, rebelled against my father for a few months to a year. In the end, I went back to him, but...
See, even if I asked, he wouldn't give it to me. He's much happier with me gone.
Well, then I will say to start with, I promise not to send this information along. He will not know that you've been by here. I'm sure that will put you at more ease with the situation.
I appreciate it. I do recall you preferring my mother, but she's back in the Feywild. So I can't reach her.
Yes, that explains why I haven't got any letters back. I sent a postcard for the last festival, but I have always thought she was more personable. Of course, I would prefer you didn't tell your father that, although it doesn't seem like you're currently on speaking terms.
He's getting cut.
I mean, yeah, I start kind of like getting teary-eyed thinking of my mom.
Break in.
What?
No, nothing.
And he continues to think sort of in silence for 30 seconds, and you hear footsteps going up the stairs, and the high elf attendant from before has now brought the tea, and she starts handing it out to each individual who had the corresponding cup. She's, getting it perfect. And so you get the exact tea that you had downstairs delivered back to you. And she curtsies and walks out of the room. And another 20 seconds of silence go by. He says, Okay. While I may not entirely support everything you're doing, that doesn't negate the fact that I owe you a favor and that I might have done something similar at my age. You may come later to regret these actions or not, but that isn't my place to have any decision in. And he strokes his chin and he says, well, it's not uncommon for goblins who have been arrested to be released. They don't have to serve out their time, no matter how heinous the crime was.
That's the thing, it wasn't a heinous crime.
Well, to some, occupying private land that they should not be in and trespassing are high sins. Now, usually these people tend to be developers, but they have quite a bit of swing in this town. And he continues to stroke his chin. He says, and let me get through this next part without interruption, because my mind is currently a little scattered right now. But where was I? Yes, no matter how heinous the crime, they will get released. They don't have to serve their sentence. However, usually in the end, they are sent back to the tribe they are registered to. They don't get to stay here in Baysaw. But there are cases of those who have been shown to be completely innocent and have made significant impacts in some field or another, that they become apprentices of sorts to maybe a noble or a more wealthy citizen, someone who has the money to sponsor them and has the reputation to guarantee their status in the city. Now, how many were jailed. I'm not sure if you mentioned.
Look to Despa. I don't remember.
I don't remember either. I feel like
It's like 4? 5? Yo, Despa, how many of your friends did we not kill?
She looks at you very angrily.
what a way to put that.
Can you put it a little bit more lightly?
I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
Jesus.
And she looks over. She says, well, there are currently 6 in jail. And he looks back at her and says, 6. 6.
6.
Number of the beast. Hell
Well,
and fire.
I think that I could personally host 4
Mm.
if you were able to find another noble of sorts, or if your actions were great enough, you would probably find some military or low-level official who would agree to sign them on. Now, that is the end. We need to talk about the middle. It's hard to get them released in the first place, to prove that despite their crimes, that there's no reason for them to be jailed. Now, the best way to do this would be to offer some alternative group. Maybe others who have committed the same crime, but have done so with more malice. And if you deliver enough, then they can serve what's basically a substitute sentence.
Well, our
I
friend
think-
Despa here has said she might know of some felonious goblins, if I remember correctly.
She nods, although you can see that she's still kind of grimacing a bit when she looks over to you.
So trading actual criminals for Despa's family members.
And he nods and says, yes, that would be the best way to do it. Now, that would be the first step, would be finding an adequate number that you can take alive. I remind you that you'll need the same amount of bodies to bring back in order to set free those who are currently imprisoned. Now, that's to send them back to where their homes are, registered homes. I assume that won't be in Besa, and that's, I believe from what you've explained, that's not exactly what you're shooting for, is it?
Well, where are their registered homes, Despa?
She kind of shakes her head and says, well, I'm not exactly sure where. I know it's somewhere in the
What?
north.
What noise?
You're making a weird noise, but it's...
You know, like your phone sliding on something? You were.
Is it not still happening?
No, you're fine now.
Okay, cool. Sorry.
all good. And so she continues and she says, I don't know exactly where. I honestly was going to ask when I got back, once I learned more about the geography of the land, but I believe that they mostly hail from the same tribe, ways north and east of Besa, closer to the larger, more autonomous lands.
Well, that's fine then. I mean, the big thing is getting them free.
She nods, but at the same time, it's a little hesitant, and she says, They left for a reason, though. They don't want to go back to where they were from, at least not empty-handed.
If they, once we get them released, will they be escorted directly to where they were registered, or just ordered to go where they were registered?
He nods at you and says, well, they will be ordered, not directly sent off, but well, you could maybe hide from the eyes of the authorities for a few months. There are a few that have been able to stay in the city or even the state after being ordered out.
Well, then maybe after we get them out, we have some time to perhaps find out who owns the village they were staying in and talk with them and see if we can come to some agreement and let the goblins stay there.
Can you change their what place they belong to? I guess is what we're talking about, right? I don't know what the term would be.
Yeah. So they have household registration cards that are basically tied to every individual. So you all have these two that basically specify if you are from an urban area and which city you're from, which basically prefecture you're from as well.
Start IDs.
Pretty much. And it's very difficult, all of you would know, to change anything about that. It's a lot easier to do prefecture to prefecture, but urban to rural or rural to urban, or sorry, I should say rural to urban, it's very difficult to change that. Urban to rural, that's extremely easy.
Oh, good. Well, not really.
What about like forged documents? Would we know how hard it is to get those?
It probably wouldn't be that difficult to get them. It would pretty much just be how much are you willing to pay for how high quality of a forge. Are any of you sort of familiar with any criminal activities in general?
Well, I used to fight crime in my prefecture, but it was mostly just petty crime.
One might say that Isla is familiar with criminal activities.
God damn it.
Okay.
I was
One might say, okay.
You're a merchant?
mercenary.
Oh, mercenary.
That would mean that I probably have some contact with shady individuals.
Yeah, so then maybe Oswaldo and Isla would know that basically if you're stopped for like a minor crime or anything that doesn't really require you being looked over in great detail, a false registration card or like a forged registration card, you're probably fine. But when it comes to anything that would basically send you to jail or requires anything higher than like a basic level security probing or something like that, if they will most likely be able to find it, and the consequences for that can be pretty steep, especially if you can't pay the cash.
So we need like really expensive forged documents, what you're saying.
Right. Extremely expensive forged documents, that can pretty much save you from anything.
How expensive we talking?
Probably like 800 to 1,000 gold.
Yeah.
That's usually for like high level officials who started out in a rural area and don't really want to go through the bureaucracy or can't be bothered to change their registration. They'll just buy one of those and they'll go, and because they have the wealth and the stature, no one's gonna blink two eyes at them.
You're just accomplishing making me angry.
So we need a GoFundMe page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put us up at Patreon at Save the Goblins.
And he's going to kind of interject as all of you are kind of discussing this, and he says, again, bringing back the whole thing with the sponsoring. That would be the second part if you want them to stay in Besa. If they're attached via servitude or some hiring position to a noble or someone with enough money that can guarantee them, then it doesn't matter what their registration card says as long as they're still working. Well,
what about a brewery?
The brewery would most likely have to exceed some large threshold for yearly income that they could know that, yes, you are paying the goblins and that you would be able to pay for any expenses that the goblins might incur by getting in trouble with the law. Usually that gets pretty pricey. A local brewery or maybe even a few city brewery might not be able to handle it, but if you're talking about a brewery that sells throughout the whole prefecture, there won't be any issues there. He kind of looks at you. He's, very nice to meet you.
Who's that?
Oh.
Oh, you have a brewery. Or your family does.
He looks at you and your exposed nipple. And he says, do you know how many cities your brewery sells to? Yeah, so how large is this brewery? You went out to advertise for it, so I would assume that
it needs advertisement. You get hops.
I would say that most sort of lower mid-level breweries do import, especially in Besa, where you're not really able to have land to grow enough hops and right. I would say that maybe given another few years, you would be able to be at this position where you could sponsor criminals, but well, because it's not just for goblins; it's for anyone who's currently in jail. Within a few years, because I would say that with the size of your brewery, with needing to import stuff, you're probably getting beer to 10 or 11 cities. But the threshold that he's talking about is like 50 to 100 at the very least. So while you're definitely not like a poor, unknown brewery, you're just not quite there. And he's gonna say, now, I'm sure we could handle the whole sponsorship and everything, but there is one thing that needs to happen before. In the same way that you need to get equal bodies to replace them in the first place, you'll need to do something towards stopping or solving the issue of whatever they were involved in. And it sounds like here it was trespassing. Now, if you are able to find, 6 goblins from one area, that's good. You can get your acquaintances out of jail. But if you were to maybe find another 2 villages that had the same issue, bringing in another 6 or 12, or maybe even solving the problem entirely, there would be no issue with getting sponsors or having them stay in Besa.
I see what you're saying. Solving someone else's problem, they'd help us out.
Yes, especially if you were to let a official or noble take claim for such an act instead of taking it yourself. They would be more than happy. Their promotion, if it could be bought on such an act, I'm sure they would be willing to give you much more than just that.
Oh, excellent.
I personally am not interested in such a thing, but as per my owing you, and probably continuing to owe you after you come back and paint my family again in 8 or 9 months, I would be happy to take at least 3 once you've accomplished this. Once you leave, I can put a word in with an official and get everything ready for at least the first stage of the plan.
Thank you.
So you're telling me you know of a pre-existing problem that we can go solve?
Oh, no, I don't know of a way for you to solve this problem. I'm merely providing you a way out. If
Okay. Well,
you go ahead and bring me...
That's better spill the beans.
And she kind of looks over, still a tiny bit insulted that you're supposedly treating this with, I guess, less seriousness than life and death for her family. She kind of looks at you with disdain, but she nods. And he's going to say, but yes, inform me once you have gotten the 6 bodies. I will inform a relative of mine who's looking to climb the ranks. He'll be able to negotiate it to get your friends out. And then we'll move on to the next part of trying to get them available for sponsorship and finding the sponsors. Uh,
6 replacements.
6 replacements, yes.
So if we gotta kill some, let's at least leave 6 alive.
Yes, it would be quite heartbreaking, I'm sure, for this young woman, for only 5 of her family members to be taken out. And she looks a little conflicted. She's not exactly sure what to feel here.
Well, it's easier to break one goblin out of jail than 6 of them.
Nod in agreement.
Let's not make her
Nod
choose.
in agreement and shoot a thumbs up. Despa.
She's gonna ignore you. And he says, well, if that's all, I'll go ahead and contact him. And you can finish your tea if you'd like.
Wait,
Yes.
you said if we were able to complete this, you'd take on 3 of them, right?
At least 3. I could probably do 4, but depending on the time frame that you get this done in, I have a nephew who's 12 who needs summer work, and
Oh. Well, the question I had was, is our friend Despa here welcome to come and see her family at any time?
of course, as long as she, goes through the front door and gives up her weapons, and I wouldn't see why there would be an issue, although sometimes there may be a party. Although I guess we'd relocate her family so they're in a different part, that they wouldn't be mingling with the guests.
Wow.
So, you know what? There probably wouldn't be a problem at all. No, yeah, she should be able to visit.
Well, there you go.
And he smiles warmly at her, and again, she looks very conflicted.
Well, Despa, what's your plan if we succeed? Where will you go?
Well, I plan to put my degree to good use.
Okay. Okay. Well, as long as we're not just, as long as we don't have to solve some. I'd rather it be 6 people than have to be a 7th to take for people to take in, you know. Oh God damn it!
But she says, I hope to prevent the situation from happening in the future, to find some way to legalize those goblins who are currently living in the city undocumented.
Legalize. Legalize.
Or Despa. I'm so sorry, Despa.
We're not saying this in character.
She looks at you and smiles.
I really don't think people should like her. It scares me how easily trusting people are of her.
Despa?
No, of you.
Excuse me?
Didn't she? Who is she smiling at?
Yeah, she was smiling at Isla.
I'm not gonna say that. I'm just
I'm
saying.
I think currently the only 2 people who haven't made iffy remarks about her family have been Oswaldo and Isla.
I'll apologize later. Soren's not good with social interaction.
It's great too, because I think in the past few days it was 3 people and you were one of them that she trusted, and then you said that.
Look,
like,
I painted those nice portraits of her dead family members. I mean, come on.
I'll apologize to her. I obviously can tell she's not happy with me.
It's like breaking something and then trying to put like duct tape over it.
Stapling it back together.
It's like, hey, I might have killed your family, but I painted this sick portrait of him.
I vouched for Bernard. I don't think Bernard harmed anything. I don't remember.
I just did the portraits and
Yeah,
kind of
just
like,
cried
hey,
there
you
while
look really good though, right?
just cried there while 2 people killed the other people.
Yeah, she didn't see that though.
And healed her when in a blood rage, but that's besides the point.
As a barbarian will do.
It's what he does. It's what he does.
So Pan is going to leave the room. and kind of look at all of you and say, I wish you the best of luck, especially you, Despa, was it? I'll keep you in my prayers. And he smiles warmly at everyone and walks to the room that's on the other side of the foyer entrance, open the door, go inside, and close it.
That's good.
So he said he'd get into contact with someone that may have a problem we could solve.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
So what do we do in the meantime?
we need Despa to tell us what she knows about these other goblins.
So Despa kind of looks at all of you and says, would you like to discuss it here or somewhere more fitting?
Well,
Certainly, we can do that.
yeah. Not like we need to do it now.
She nods and starts leading the way out. She's kind of seemed a little uncomfortable ever since you arrived.
Yeah.
And definitely more uncomfortable being on the inside. And while she has kind of relaxed, especially with the warmer demeanor of Pan, she still just doesn't necessarily feel that comfortable. And so she's quick to sort of walk towards the front door, which the elf attendant opens for her and kind of curtsies while doing so. And Despa will kind of give her a short, kind of forced smile as she walks out and waits for Soren to collect the weapon so that she can get her own.
Sorry. I like my sword.
So I assume that everyone collects their weapon.
Indeed.
Yeah. You said she had like some kind of sword, and like, does she have a dagger too?
She had like a shitty sword and dagger, I think.
Yeah, the dagger is of decent quality. That was probably a lot easier to ascertain or to get a decent dagger. However, the short sword looks a tiny bit rusty, very worn, getting blunt on the edges, and anyone with any sort of fighting sense at all sees that this sword is probably going to break within the next few months.
Sure. Stop.
We'll have to get you something nicer at some point.
She kind of looks at you and says, I appreciate the sentiment, but I'd rather not use it in the first place.
When he's not a murder hobo like we are.
Well, shit happens. Oh, man.
And don't say that when somebody else's family dies.
What do you mean?
Shit
Well,
happens.
shit happens.
We already discussed this with her.
We are the shit.
Yeah, exactly. It's either shit or be shit.
Hey, I use non-lethal damage.
And so everyone, gets their weapons, gets their gear, their fine clothing, and you all walk out. And she suggests that you hail a wagon to move back to roughly. So she got the note from Michael, and she suggests that you go to that sort of general area so that it won't be that long of a trip to see the goblins.
Oh. Sorry.
No worries.
how is Panzan gonna get in hold with us again? Are we gonna come back at some point?
Yeah, so basically what he had propositioned was that you come back with the 6 bodies, and then you can move forward.
Oh my god.
Somebody's trying to get a hold of you.
It's D&D night.
Hey, motherfucker, D&D night. Don't call me, bitch. So basically, once you have the 6 bodies, he said come back, and we can proceed with things. I would assume that you wouldn't actually bring the 6 goblins.
No.
But, instead bring them to a local authority and then talk to them, was the gist of what he was sort of implying. So, yeah, she suggests that you go to a inn or something nearby where the goblins are being held, courtesy of the note given by Michael. And then she proceeds once you arrive, assuming that you actually go there.
Yeah.
That's going to be another... Actually, it's going to be a silver this time because it was only a 25-minute ride over. You get there, you just end up outside an inn that's probably only a few blocks away from the holding cell. And she says, let's find a restaurant where we can get a private room.
Sounds good.
Yes.
We
Let's
do
do
that. We look for that.
Okay. So probably 4 or 5 doors down, there seems to be a small restaurant that has both a sort of family dining area and then also a more private seating arrangement with some walled-off rooms.
Looks good to me.
So, you walk in, you get a table, and after ordering, drinks and some food, she says, okay.
Okay.
Well, before I left, I had talked with a few of the goblins who you killed. They were ones, well, at least 2 of them, were ones that were actually dealing in some petty crime. I wasn't a big fan, but I know that they, along with stealing from grocers or a few small shops, they also were in contact with another goblin from a different village. It was mainly for trade, that they would sell their stolen goods and they would buy, more food or clothing or whatever they needed, tools maybe. This man who came in to town, his name was Gishtuk.
Gishtuk.
He...
Are you taking your notes on a typewriter?
No, I was clearing off my desk.
Oh,
I have my shit.
fancy notes.
Actually, I'm changing his name now. No, his name is still Gishtuk. And
Better break
she
out
can...
the white out there, typewriter boy.
Fuck.
So look for Kishtuk.
Gishtuk,
Gishtuk?
yes.
What? How do you spell his name?
Geishtook.
Kishtuk. Okay.
Gishtuk. Okay.
Anyways, Gishtuk is a rather prominent, from what I understand, goblin merchant who operates in a village maybe an hour away from ours. I don't really know why he hasn't been caught yet. I'm pretty sure that officials have known about him, but maybe he makes enough money that he pays them off. I'm not entirely sure, but Gishtuk, he's one to look out for. I can provide you the map to where he is and everything, but I would like to make one thing clear. Just like our village, while there were a few who did more than just the awful crime of trespassing, there were some that actually stole. It's the same way, I'm nearly sure, with his village. Please.
Do you want us to give proof of who we're taking?
That
That they are indeed deserving of the crime, obviously.
She nods and she says, well, I think that most of them were probably pushed into it by circumstance. I do know that there's a small band of mercenary goblins that are usually associated with Gishtuk. I don't think that he hires them. I think they're from someone else, or so one of my fathers told me.
Someone else?
I'm not exactly sure. There's one other name that I heard that may be Gishtuk's boss. I'm not entirely sure. The name is Galathar. I'm not exactly sure who he is or what he even does, but from what I've heard, he's probably the one who is hiring those mercenaries.
He's the shot caller?
As far as I know, there may be someone above him. He may just be a puppet of an official, I'm not sure. But regardless, those mercenaries are probably the ones that you'd like to take in. And maybe if those living in the village have any opinions on anyone living with them, maybe you could listen to that too.
Well, as much I wouldn't like to walk into another goblin village unannounced. Oh,
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Come on.
Welcome
Oh,
back.
God, finally! Jeez.
It's been an hour.
God. Falling asleep over here. No, you're not.
All good?
I don't think you. Sorry.
Still streaming? Okay.
Just gonna watch the stream. All you hear is, "God damn it."
But getting back into things, does anybody remember where I left off?
Gishtar or Githtar.
Galathar.
Galathar, sorry.
No worries.
About
Under the taking the right guys. Oh, we were talking about listening to the townspeople. It's what Despa last said about who they want us to take.
Right.
yeah, I don't think we need to be massacring someone that just.
Yeah, I don't want to walk
lives
back
there.
into especially since I don't speak Goblin. I don't think
Well,
if
have
we're gonna
a
go
friend who
through with that.
does.
Yeah, as we're gonna go through with that, then I suggest we have Despa and Oswaldo take care of that. Them being the two Goblin inclined characters.
Good way to put it.
Yeah.
And so she kind of nods and says,
Fuck you.
"That's exactly what she says."
What?
No,
In Goblin.
no, I'm joking.
What? I was gonna say, what do I do now?
She kind of she thinks for a bit and she says, "With Gishtuk and his mercenaries, that should make at least 6.
Well, then, what if this Galathar person has opinions about us taking his men, if he is controlling them or not?
And we'll take Elithar too.
He probably won't like it. Maybe that's the way we'll get them to stay in Besa."
Uh-huh. I hate you.
I did.
Well...
Hmm? What do you mean?
I didn't hear anything.
What are you talking about?
Scott said he loved me.
And
Thank you, Scott.
so yeah, she just kind of looks and stops and kind of stares at the rest of you and says, "Any thoughts?"
Well, our first plan of action is to go and gather intelligence. Which that would be Despa's and Oswaldo's job.
You said that sounds hard for you.
Yeah, it is.
Damn.
I'm not good at talking to people.
Smart enough to know who to send in. That's something.
I got it.
Well, I do have an int of 0, so...
Oh.
A whole 0.
It's impressive that you can walk around and breathe.
Modifier.
No, my modifier is 0.
Yeah, I only got one. I got a little bit, but not much.
She's just a potato. We've been.
The intelligence of a rock.
I cast Thunderous Smite on a table.
So,
Poor like bastard.
Yeah, exactly. This is all just a fever dream inside my head. This is the entire campaign. Oh, wow. Sorry, what? You were a robot.
Sorry, did you say fear dream?
Fever dream.
Okay.
Yeah. No, that was pretty obvious.
Nightmare?
Yeah, I'm having a nightmare that this is all happening.
Yeah.
A fear dream. What's the
That's a good
term?
alternative.
A fear dream.
Yeah.
That's good.
okay, so what next?
That's what I'm calling nightmares from now
Well, the next step would probably be heading over there, trying to get some information. However, because we have just hit 8:05, have run into some issues both with voice and with tabletop sim. I say that we call it for tonight and hope for a 3-hour session next time.
Okay.
Good.
This is a good place to start, or to end anyways. No, however, you get 1/3 of the EXP you need to get to the next level.
Which is...
I believe you're at 300 right now. The next is 600. You probably got, or sorry, the next is 900, which means you need 600 EXP, which 600 divided by 3 is 200.
7,000. Got it.
So everyone gets 200 EXP.
Sweet, dude. So many points. Dank. That was epic. That was epic, dude.
I don't know if Scott was
Christ.
here. But I
Epic swag memeage.
typed it.
Friday night meme.
Saturday spooky.
Is it?
Spooky.
Should do a Halloween theme.
We're all spooky.
Except for
Even-
Galleon,
no,
but I
no,
like
he's-
him.
It's obviously spooky too.
Galleon was
Galleon-
spookier when he had the run over eagle art.
Galleon isn't
Dedia.
spooky. He's scary.
What?
I thought he was a
into-
ship.
He's into the spooky stuff.
No, he's scary good at killing stuff. Is the thing.
Okay,
Is
yeah,
he a ship?
No.
No, he's an ex. I'm gonna have to send you.
Wrong type
Good
of
night,
galleon.
Squeam.
Let me send you his art.
If
Spelled
he's
very
not a giant, like, 2-sailed ship, I'm gonna